Burnett, Johnson, Worry, and Nicholson are present. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by
Second.
Worry, under discussion. Here,
Question.
okay,
Chair
Alderman
Nicholson.
Burnett.
There's a little discrepancy, I think, at what time the meeting were to begin. I was under the impression 6, and my fear, the biggest agenda item, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've heard, that's of interest to the public, would be the wheel tax discussion. So if I could just amend the agenda to maybe put that a little further down the agenda in case people were to show up to speak to that item. So,
Okay, any questions? I don't have a problem with that. We can do that. Mayor? Then Dorf.
I would
Dorf, I
like
mean.
to comment on that. I'm wondering if you could maybe hear my comments and then take it up again or take mine out of order. I have people coming over for the First City Band concert for dinner.
Can do whatever we want,
I would just,
basically.
it's just a couple minutes. I would
Yeah.
like to go earlier than after 6. I have
Okay.
to go at 6.
Point well taken. Alderman Dorf.
I do have someone here that has prepared something to speak, and he has to leave for a banquet, for an athletic banquet. Could he also
Yeah.
speak, please? Okay.
Yeah. We can do that. Is that okay,
Yes.
Alderman Burnett? We
Mhm.
can hear some testimony, some information, and we can hold it and bring it back later in the meeting. If you want to make a Vanessa?
I just want to make one clarification, because I did realize that we noticed that there was a discrepancy on the agendas earlier. So I just want it on the record so that you guys don't have any issues with the tape later on. It does say that it's 6 o'clock on the main website, but the agenda itself does say note the time change. So we are within compliance, so there is no issue, but I think it's totally appropriate for you to wait till 6 o'clock to take the remainder of it up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with all that, all those facts, Alderman Burnett, you want to make a motion to that effect?
Motion to amend the agenda, but first to hear comments from Mayor Smith and the member of the public identified by Alder Dorf, and then move that to after item 5 on the agenda. I think that would be sufficient.
Okay. Motion to that effect by Alderman Burnett. Do I have a second by Worry, under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Let's move on. Okay, approval of the minutes.
Motion approved.
Motion by Worry,
Second.
second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, regular order of business. Number 1, consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Dorf to craft a proposal to implement the municipal vehicle registration fee program, wheel tax, held over from May 7th, 2018, Improvement Services Committee.
Do you want me to do my part now?
It's up to you.
What?
It's your communication. I'm gonna address you first, but you can give it to the mayor. You can
Oh, okay, and. I would
Or
like
the
Alderman
person that
Burnett
has to
tell
go
me what
to-
he would like me to do.
Sure.
Or the person who has to go to a banquet.
If I could, Chair.
Alder
Okay.
I think my motion, maybe it was out of order, but it was to hear from the mayor and then the member of the public. And then
Okay.
we can
And then I'll do
talk
my part
about-
later.
All right, sounds good, Mayor.
Okay, my part is brief. I'm just here asking for some action on this wheel tax, user fee, vehicle, whatever you want to call it. It's a $20 tax fee per vehicle that we need. This was a holdover, I think, from a couple meetings ago, but Mr. Chairman, the memo that you got from Steve and from me was dated June 14th. So it's a year ago tomorrow. And I just want this to get some action, yes, no. And I don't want this delayed because Director Grenier's not here. That's why I'm here. And I know he's not here, he's registering his kid for school. And Jim Burnett can answer a lot of questions, but conceptually, this hasn't changed. This is when you register your vehicle, it would be another $20, and that money would come to the city of Green Bay, and it's a designated fund. I know some aldermen said, oh, it's going to be used for this or for that, or it's not. It's a designated fund, it's got some flexibility depending on how much we assess. So the number one priority is to relieve the property assessments. You know, I got $2,300 assessment last year, and I didn't like it, but then you hear some assessments that are much larger, and then there's some smaller assessments in neighborhoods where they can't afford that. They don't have $800 or $1,500. So that would be the number one priority. And then after that is, and we know that years ahead what the assessments are going to be. Once those are taken care of, the remainder is up to you what we do with that. And it can be used for, there's a variety of things, and it can be used to do more resurfacing. It can be used to do some alleys. But you see that in February when you get the capital improvement project. And people who say we don't have one, that's just not true. We do have one, and you approve it every year. So in October, we'll go over the budget, which you'll approve, and then in February, you'll see the capital improvement plan. And those are two opportunities where you will be seeing, you know, the DPW budget, and we'll be looking at the revenue that's coming in and how it's being used. And this is a good plan, and communities have picked this up in the last year, and I think the public is on our side. It's not the easiest thing to do publicly, but I think it's the right thing to do. And I know some of us want to see the resurfacing program double. I'm one of those people. I also think we have some demanding needs that have to be taken care of, and I think that's why we have committees. That's why we have a director, and I think we can talk about it, and whether it goes to bridge maintenance or it goes to resurfacing Clay Street or something. It just, the stuff needs to get done. And what I don't want to happen, Mr. Chairman, tonight is to have this held because Steve Grenier is not here. I'm here to say, if you have any questions that you would ask Steve or Director Burnett, I think that can be handled tonight. And I would like to see this go to our city council, and if it gets debated or held there or referred back or something, but I don't see a reason for that anymore. We've been at this for some time. We've talked to other municipalities, and this is just something I'd like to see move out of committee tonight. That's my goal.
Thanks, Mayor.
Any questions on any of that?
Okay. Is that you, Dan?
Yeah.
First night's go to go banquet. Okay, I need a motion to open the floor for interested parties. Mr. Dan Thino. Motion by Johnson, second by Burnett. Under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Dan Thino, 621 Short Street, Green Bay. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I gave you a written statement, but let me point out three things in that statement because of time constraints, both mine and yours. First of all, according to the American Automobile Association, the average cost of owning and operating a vehicle is $8,500 a year. We're talking about $20 a year investment to protect someone's $8,500 investment in their automobile. That comes to 2/1000% for providing safe, reliable transportation in the city of Green Bay. The second point I'd like to make is that I think it's very important that we get rid of the special assessments. It is patently unfair to charge thousands of dollars to people living in residential areas of the city of Green Bay so that hundreds of other people can use the street in front of them as they pass by somebody's home that has paid for the street. That is just patently unfair. Thirdly and lastly, I'd like to just point out that I think it's politically naive to assume that people are going to object no matter what the fee is. I was a city mayor for 2 terms. I served 4 terms in the Wisconsin State Senate. I know a little bit about politics. It doesn't matter if the fee that you impose is $2, $20, or $200. The same people are going to complain. And those same people are going to be the ones that call their alderman first and say, I want the pothole in front of my house fixed. Go for the $20. It might even be a little bit low. But please, pass this out of committee, I beg of you, As a resident of the city of Green Bay, I'm very actively involved in civic affairs. I'm chairman of the Green Bay Neighborhood Leadership Council, and I'm president of the Oak Grove Neighborhood Association. I can tell you that neighborhood presidents throughout the city, they're hearing loudly and clearly the need to have this funding to support the resurfacing and reconstruction of the streets throughout the city of Green Bay. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions? If not, we'll move on.
Okay?
Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Appreciate it.
Motion to return to regular order.
Motion to return to regular order of business.
Second.
And motion by Burnett, second by Weary, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So Vanessa, to suspend this or hold this until later in the agenda, what's the proper motion?
I would say that I would recommend just holding it until 6 o'clock.
Do we have to vote on it, or can I just make a determination on that?
You've already technically amended the agenda,
So it's already there.
yeah,
Okay,
but
so
if
we
you just
move on
say
to
that
two
you're gonna
then.
hold it until item number 5, and then you'll retake it up then, if that's appropriate.
Okay, so at this time, we're gonna be holding up this issue until, what, after agenda number 5?
Yes.
Okay. We should be right around 6 o'clock. So we're gonna move on. Number 2. Consideration of possible action by Alderman Weary to allow city council members a second parking permit. Held over from May 7th, 2018, Improvement Services Committee meeting. Alderman Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you'll attest to this, haven't been on the council since 2002, except for a 2-year period. We've always been given however many passes we need, because some of us have 2 or 3 vehicles. I mean, I have 2 in my family, wife and I, and your pass might be in one, you know, when you get here, it might be in the other vehicle, and you don't want to have to get a ticket voided. It makes no sense. So it's not really maybe a second pass, it's really maybe just a duplicate. It could even say City Hall only. Have your plate number on it, City Hall only. So that way, you know, if you have your second vehicle and it just has the City Hall only on it, you can zip in, you're not gonna get a ticket and have to get it wiped out. It just seems strange that we're changing it now after all these years when there was never a problem with it. So I'd be interested to hear from the committee, but my motion would be to, you know, issue a duplicate pass or a second pass to aldermen who request it.
Okay, motion on the floor by Alderman Weary to add additional parking passes for aldermen only, correct?
Right, and it would be just a second. I mean, unless you think more is necessary, but I think a second is.
I said additional, so, okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, second, we're under discussion.
Well,
Alderman Burnett.
good, I believe the motion that I made at the last committee was to hold until Director Grenier could comment on it. Obviously, he is not here. I'm sure Jim or Chris, if you wanted to comment for the
Attorney
director.
Chavez is here to speak about it today.
So I was asked whether or not it's something that could be done by the council, and the answer is yes. The council can allow members to have additional items or additional parking passes. The only caveat is that it would be considered a benefits, so it would need to be referred to to personnel after this, so that the benefits package can be amended to allow for that, since it's not something that's readily available to either the public or other employees.
Is it currently in our benefits package that we have a parking pass?
I'm not sure.
No, I don't believe so. How come in the past it's always been allowed and now all of a sudden this year don't we have one?
I can't speak to what's happened in the past. I can only tell you that it has not come up since I've been here, and I'm not sure it's ever been referred to law. When I was asked to look into whether it's something they could do, we said yes, you can. It's just that because it is a special benefit, it is considered a benefit, and so we're trying to keep things above board and make it part of your benefits package so that you're not being scrutinized by receiving a benefit that you shouldn't technically be entitled to otherwise.
Who would scrutinize us?
The public.
Really, the public would scrutinize us because we have 2 parking passes?
I'm just trying to keep you guys above board. That's all I'm
Okay,
doing.
no, I'm just trying to think about that one. Okay. Anything else,
Do you know
Chris?
anything? Yeah, I was just curious, since you're up here, why did the policy change? Or when did it change?
I don't even know that there was a policy. Again, this is the first time it's come to law.
So you have no knowledge of why it changed or when it changed?
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Jim, you have anything? Anything from your
Well, one of the
office?
things that was brought up was a duplicate pass, and one thing that I just asking Chris, if, I don't think we can do duplicate passes because of the automatic parking system, because if both passes would happen to be used at the same time, not to say it'd be done on purpose, obviously, that may create some issues for the park system, so that's something that Chris will have to talk to the parking manager about and see how that would all work, so. Because it may end up having to be two separate passes.
I just have one question. Are we only talking about the hang tags for the vehicles? We're not talking about the little white cards for the parking access to the ramps?
No, I was just talking about
Do we get
coming to a
those?
meeting.
Do we get the little cards for the
City Hall
ramps?
employees have that as part of their benefits package, and they're only allowed one.
Yep.
And that's a checks and balances, because only one can be used per account at any one time.
I've never,
So
never
That was,
had one
that
of
was
those.
an item of clarification, I
Oh,
just
yeah.
wanted to know.
Never had one of those, don't really need one. It's just so I can go to
Oh,
my
I might
meetings.
like that one.
So if I could, Chris, city staff, certain city staff have that parking pass coming to and from?
If they work
non-city?
in the City Hall, they are allowed to park in either the Cherry Street or Pine Street ramp with their personal vehicle.
With the
during
tag?
the regular business. No, it's a white card.
Yeah, that's what they gave us.
Okay.
Don't they pay for that?
No, that's part of the benefits package that goes back years. It was a negotiated item many years ago.
Is that different than what we were issued? We were issued the little hanging tag, I'm sorry.
It's a hand tag that goes under rearview mirror, that's a completely
Okay,
different
so we don't
process
have that.
and
Well,
program.
let me clarify, Chris, you're just asking for
The hanging
another.
tag, I'm just talking about coming to
Well,
meetings.
can't they just write something out on, like they usually do, or what they did in the past? They would just write it
Mr.
out?
Chairman, if I could, what I've done, I had ones from the years past, those little cardboard ones, and I just flipped it around and wrote parking pass Alderman Weary, and I hung it on there, and it's been working, so.
Yeah, strictly speaking on the program, it can be, a duplicate, it could be printed duplicate. It's the only thing I would, just to, for clarity is, you just want to have some kind of check or balance that two aren't being used at the same time for the one pass holder, just to be consistent through the
Thank you for
system.
City Hall, my wife will never come down here.
Yeah.
You couldn't drag her
Yeah,
down.
and it could be city hall, yeah. It can work. If it's only the hang tag and not the pass card, it's a lot easier to manage.
We don't have pass.
Alderman Burnett?
Yes, if I could, at the last meeting, reason why I referred it or held it for a month or so was because the parking employee who enforces this law or ordinance, I asked her a question, has there historically been council members who have violated this benefit, if you will, or ability to have this parking pass? And I didn't ask for names, and she didn't offer them, but she said historically, yes, there have been aldermen and/or women, my words, not hers, that have violated this. So for the sake of being transparent to the public and to make it appear rightfully that we are no different than the city staff that the city employs, I do recommend that we follow Attorney Chavez's advice and send this to the personnel policy, just so we're not appearing to the public that we're looking for any additional benefit or right that the city staff does not have. So my motion, if I could, I don't know if a motion's on the floor,
Go ahead.
but if I can make a motion to approve.
No,
that-
there is a motion on
Is
the
there?
floor.
I thought so.
We're under discussion
That's right. I'm
to
sorry.
approve additional passes for aldermen only.
If I could amend that, I still approve that motion, but amend it to send to the city personnel committee for their approval or input.
So you're basically saying
I
the motion
approve
is to pass it, approve it at INS and refer to
Contingent on-
personnel for them to continue. discussion.
Contingent on the approval of the personnel committee.
And if it doesn't pass that personnel, then what?
Dies.
Guys?
And it dies. Yes.
I would rather have this full city council. I don't want the personnel committee to determine what we are trying to,
Well, it'd go in the report, right? And if you pull it out,
well then, okay, then we can look at it
Yeah.
at council.
I agree with you completely. My point is that,
I don't know about that. Can I get clarification on that? If you have a contingent on a different committee, I mean, do they have the absolute authority, or is that, will be another recommendation to the council?
It's another recommendation to council.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
That's it?
Yeah. Alderman Johnson?
I don't know. I mean, we're responsible for bringing our paperwork, our pens, our notepad, bring the parking pass. I don't- Sorry, Chris.
I will say that, having two-driver household for myself, I was at the point this morning, dropping off kids, picking up, I'm like, oh shoot, I have a meeting downtown, and I have my wife's car. Is the pass in there? And I know what you're saying, Alderman Johnson, it is difficult though, dropping at a dime, trying to figure out what car, and so two would benefit me for sake of convenience greatly, because I don't know who's gonna have what car at what time. It's easier to leave it in the car, but if it's an issue of a more personal responsibility, each older person to have it with them with their agenda packs, I could see that case too. I mean, really, I don't have no strong opinion either way. My strong opinion is, I don't want it to appear to the public that we're separating ourselves from the city staff. That somehow we're more entitled, or that we should have something that they're not entitled to, or deserving, or needing.
Anything else?
No, I think Alderman Burnett summed it up pretty well. I think most families have more than one car, and this has been a policy forever. We're the board of directors, and we're trying to make it more difficult for us. This is such a paltry thing that the public does not care about. It wants to get here. So, I mean, it's almost always in my one car. If I have the other one, then I use my little homemade jobber, and it seems to fly, so.
Anything else, Chris? Alderman Johnson?
I mean, paltry, except for the fact that I think we did have city staff that testified that it is a thing that had been abused. And so that is a problem, because it's people who are skirting, the parking meter fees. And so, again, she didn't say that who it was or the nature of it, and so unfortunately, we're lacking those details. But that, to me, is the concern, is that we're basically spending taxpayer money by not forcing people to pay the fee. If in fact, that can be validated.
Right, that's the kicker.
Anything else, Alderman Johnson? Anything else? Okay. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
No,
We have to vote on our pad. Jim?
No.
We don't?
Just announce who it was and always record it.
Johnson, no.
Johnson was a nay.
No, if I could, I should have done this before the vote, but the clarity on that is that the motion was to approve. Was it contingent on the input or approval of the personnel?
I believe so.
That's what the motion, did I have a second on that though? I don't.
Do we have a second on his amendment?
I didn't hear a second, no.
Okay. No, it was just, we voted on Chris's
Motion to approve.
motion to approve with additional parking passes for aldermen only.
Well, I think the nature of it, it still has to go to personnel now.
Is that correct?
It kind of does, unless they can find a way to issue it without it, which it doesn't sound like they've been able to. It needs to go to personnel to amend the benefits package
Okay.
anyways.
Okay, sounds good. Let's move on.
At least we meet monthly.
Number
so-
3, consideration of possible action, request of the Department of Public Works regarding approval of the annual compliance maintenance annual report and resolution of Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources sanitary sewer collection permit. Staff, someone want to handle that?
Yes, I'll take care of that. Each year DPW is required to submit the ECMAR, or the Compliance Maintenance Annual Report. There's 2 parts of that report. Basically what this is doing is reporting to the DNR how the sewer utility is functioning. There's a financial aspect, and then there's an actual maintenance aspect to it. In the financial section, In 2017, we received an A rating for how we're funding the utility, being able to take care of projects, having enough to take care of emergencies, and enough to have contingency funding available for those emergencies. The second section is the sanitary sewer collection system maintenance section. And with that one, same thing. The CMOUN is actually like a living document where every year, depending on how your system grows, changes, modifications made to it, we keep on reviving this document on the different maintenance aspects that we need to do. We also received an A rating on that. Just to give you a little example, I've got a chart in the paperwork that you guys should have been in your packet, I believe. It goes back to 2006. And at that time, we had 207 backups, 323 complaints. In 17, that's been reduced to 174 complaints with only 11 backups and 0 of the sanitary sewer overflows. So the program is making great progress, and that's being recognized by the DNR and the EPA. What we're asking for tonight is for the committee to adopt a resolution approving the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources NR 208 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the resolution and allow the director to forward these documents to the DNR.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson to approve, second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 4, consideration of possible action on a request by the Department of Public Works to authorize Department of Public Works to execute contracts related to asbestos abatement and demolition of properties associated with the Webster Avenue project, consistent with the terms and conditions previously established by authorizing the Department of Public Works to execute other construction contracts.
Okay, again, that's me. As part of the North Webster project, we are purchasing 24 homes on the east side of the street. The gross number for the real estate acquisition cost was in the budget and in the capital improvement program that was approved. Breaking down that number in the CIP program, that item did not give you much for details on where that money is going. Part of the demolition costs for removing these homes is we need to go through and do a check for asbestos, and if there is asbestos there, we have to remediate it. And so essentially that was already in the cost for acquiring that real estate and raising the homes. It's just, we wanted to bring it forward and let you know that that's part of that budget line item. So we would recommend approval of this item so that as we get going with the acquisitions, we go ahead and get the asbestos out and raise the houses.
Questions or concerns for staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Word, second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, 5, consideration of possible action on single source purchase of warning gates and gate arms from B&B Roadway in the amount of $75,590. Staff?
Okay, again, that's me. Part of the maintenance that we're doing on the Nitschke Bridge this year is we're going to be replacing some of the warning gates and the gate arms. And right now, we're the vendor that we wanted to use, that's why this is a single source, would be the vendor that's provided the original equipment. It just so happens that coincidentally, someone ran into one of the arms before we were able to get the new ones ordered and replaced. So that'll be part of this order. The cost for the gate that was hit in that accident will be covered by the other party's insurance. So we recommend approval of this item in the amount of $75,590.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Burnett, second by
Second.
Worry. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. I have 6 o'clock. So let's go back to number 1 with Alderman Dorf's proposal to implement the municipal vehicle registration fee program, wheel tax. Barb,
Thank you.
you got the floor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, back whenever this was, I think it was February, I brought a list of ideas that I put into communication, and among them, to eliminate the special assessments. That was number 1 for residential. To increase the amount of road construction, to increase the engineering capacity, either through additional staff being hired or contracting out, to prioritize streets on which lead service replacement is needed so that we don't tear up a street and then have to fix it again in a few years. Prioritize the streets that are going to be torn up already for the lead replacement. To build on DPW's accountability practice of providing an annual plan and report to INS and all members of City Council, which compares proposed work with actual work completed. So we can see this is what was proposed to be done this year, here is what we have completed. They already do a report very similar to this. So this is just building on what they already do. To manage the funds collected in a segregated account for progress tracking, and I think by law, these monies have to be in a segregated account, but I just put that in there because that is something that was important to me, that we can track exactly how these monies are used. And then last, to consider at some point making recommendations to change the current bonding practice to ensure the success of resurfacing and reconstruction, because Steve was never, Director Grenier was never able to know exactly what would be bonded for year to year. Now, if we have this program in place and the assessments are enough, we maybe don't even have to consider number 7. In talking with Director Grenier over the last couple of months, what I would like to do instead is go back to the original proposal that you were sent, I think this week earlier, Celestine sent that out to you. And I think that what Director Grenier has here is a good place to start, and in my opinion, to finish. I think he has an excellent proposal here, but it's some place to start so that if there are some ideas that you felt needed to be added or taken out of this proposal, this is much more comprehensive than a list of things. And that's what I had, just a list of things asking DPW to come up with a proposal. This is really a very good proposal, just the way it is. Any questions?
Any questions for Alderman Dorf? Questions? Thanks, Barb.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else from the committee or from the city council? Nobody from city council?
Well,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open up the floor for interested parties. Motion by Burnett, second by? Second. Johnson, under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, the floor is now open. Please just raise your hand. I will recognize you. When I recognize you, just come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we'll just move forward.
Andy, there were 2.
Dan's number.
This gentleman already spoke. And we'll go with this gentleman right here.
Good evening. My name is Gary Christens. I reside at 2805 Classic Drive. I'd like just to make a few comments about the wheel tax. First of all, the wheel tax is a regressive tax. And to kind of explain a little about what a regressive tax is a tax that charges a higher percent to a lower, in this case, property owner, than a higher property owner. And let me give you an example. If you're talking about a $20 wheel tax on a $100,000 home, the normal way that would be stated is that's 20 cents per thousand property tax. If you have a $400,000 home and you charge that same $20 tax, that's only a 5-cent tax. Now, while this might be great if you have a higher value home, for those older people that are representing districts that have lower than average homes in the city of Green Bay, their residents will pay more on a regressive basis. Secondly, the wheel tax attacks people that register cars in the city of Green Bay. It doesn't address businesses, so there will still need to be an assessment process for businesses. When you take a look at the 2016 annual report published by the City of Green Bay, Baycare Aurora LLC had the highest assessed property value in the City of Green Bay. They also are listed in that report as having 2,009 employees in the City of Green Bay. Whether those employees live in Green Bay, they need to get to the facilities in Green Bay. The patients need to get there. Businesses need the streets. For anybody that remembers the Military Avenue reconstruction process, it went on for months and months of arguing about the street being shut down and people not being able to get to the businesses of Green Bay. So now you have a plan where some of the road work will be paid for from the $20, but some will still have to be assessed. Also consider a small business owner. I go to a very small place to get my hair cut. I'm sure if street work was done in front of that business, they would be in here complaining that they can't pay for it as well. Don't plan for it. It would be an expense that they weren't ready for. Third item is that in one of the television interviews I saw, a city employee stated that people on the east side of town do not want to pay for the street improvements out on the far west side of town. Well, that's city government. All of the discussions of improvements in the city, all the discussions of the Colburn Pool were going to be spread across all the citizens of Green Bay. I realize that if a park on the west side of Green Bay is going to be improved, as a citizen of the east side of Green Bay, that's going to be part of my property tax. So I'm here to ask you, let's get away from the special assessments, but let's do street improvements as part of the normal budget process. Have the street department come in with a budget, streets involved, have them develop that budget, include it in the budget, include it in property tax. You now take care of all the residences paying for it as well as the building or the businesses paying for it at the same time. You don't have a dual system, you don't have excess funds, you don't have to segregate funds. It's all done as part of a property tax system that should be fair and equitable. And if our property tax system isn't fair and equitable, you're charging me a lot of money right now that maybe you shouldn't be. So I will not benefit from this. I do have a home that is above the average for the city of Green Bay. But just from a fairness, from a good tax policy standpoint, let's include it in the city budget. Let's make the people responsible for maintaining it to be in the budget. Let's not do this as a regressive tax that will beat up on the lower property owners. Any questions?
Question through the gentleman. I believe there isn't any, so
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Okay. Floor is still open. Yes, sir.
I'd like to address the point the gentleman just made about aggressive tax on property values.
Can you state your name and address
Chris
for the record,
Wilson,
please?
1248 Hillcrest Drive.
Thank you.
We fought against the special assessments because we have large properties that you can't really do anything with. And across the street from me is, I don't know, a 3 or 4 acre piece of swamp that would have gotten the same $42,000 special assessment for the road. I can't imagine that cost of that road is equal to somebody's house that only has 60 feet of frontage. The tax, the wheel tax, has nothing to do with whether or not a home is $100,000 or $400,000. Doesn't make a difference. It's about frontage.
Sir, can you just address the...
If I have
Thank you.
and I'm sure, without, having researched it. I am sure that there are $500,000 homes in the city of Green Bay with 100 feet of frontage. That puts it at more than my house is worth, puts it more than the property that has absolutely nothing on it because it's swampland is worth. But they'll get a bill of $42,000, and that $500,000 home is only going to get a bill for its 100-foot frontage, which is what, $7,500? So that was just regards to regressive tax. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Thanks for taking time tonight. Wally Walsing, 3248 Westway. I do have a couple questions about where our money goes for taxes. First of all, looking for a wheel tax, we should have a budget somewhere out there for that, correct?
Correct.
And as a gentleman spoke before, some of the businesses pay a little more taxes than that. So where, is there a layout or any kind of a budget that can show us, that you guys can show us what we spend?
Do you want it now?
Well, I figured that if this was part of the wheel tax, you guys would have that.
Bill, do you have anything?
I mean,
I
you
don't
know,
know
you would
anybody
be
that
prepared that
information.
people were gonna ask questions about, you know, how many people are in Green Bay that were licensed vehicles.
I have that.
Oh, you do?
I-
Okay.
That I can answer. There's, with the program that Alder Dorff had talked about, we're anticipating roughly about 105 to 106,000 vehicles would be involved. Because you have to remember that the wheel tax only applies to vehicles that are less than 8,000 pounds.
So it's not gonna be on commercial, because that was a
Correct.
question I was gonna ask also.
Correct.
Is it just gonna be below that, so it's under 8,000, correct? A lot of people, was there a budget, was there anything handed out for anybody tonight? Is there anything that anybody could have? To show all
I didn't
that?
receive a handout.
I mean, no,
Anybody here get a handout?
I mean, something that you would have written up for a wheel tax?
It was sent out to all the elders in our email.
Okay.
So we got that earlier this week, so this,
Okay.
I printed my.
I guess
email.
there's gonna be a lot of questions people are gonna ask about, but one thing is the commercial, you know, because businesses have, a lot of companies, trucks and stuff, therefore, put in there. So what, could you answer me what the budget is for fixing the roads of our taxpayers' money?
Bill?
Right now, the special assessments historically has brought in about $1.1 million a year. And with the $20 wheel tax that's proposed, we'd bring in roughly 2.1.
So that'll be a total of 2-point-some million a year that we bring in with the wheel tax and.
No, we would look at, the budget would be, with the wheel tax, would be the 2.1, because the residential special assessments then, as part of this package, would go away. The commercial special assessments would, one of the proposals would keep that in place. It would depend on which proposal council would decide to go with.
And would reduce it by 50%.
And now, putting on a $20 tax, I mean, another question, is that, I mean, after time, there'll be quite a amount of money in there, correct?
No. Would you like me to explain some of the details? I didn't explain it because I knew you guys had them, but I could.
I'm fine with,
Can you explain it, Bill?
Bill?
I mean, can our staff explain it?
Because after so many times, I would think that that would be able to decrease if that's the case.
I mean, can our staff explain it?
I'm fine with it.
Go right ahead and explain it. I'm sure we have the exact same document. in front of us.
I'd rather
Same
have
memo.
staff.
You would rather have
Just
staff?
1 second, Alderman Dorff, I'd like to have staff just explain it. And if there's any discrepancies, then Barb, I mean, you can entertain with any information. Thank you.
Basically, the program that was proposed had a couple different options. One would be for removing the residential special assessments and leaving the other assessments in place. One would be removing the special assessments for residences and reducing the commercial by 50%. And the other one was for another option. And basically, the proposal here, what it does is it spells out where that different money would go.
What was that other option?
can have my copy of it.
Oh,
Basically, if you look at page 2, the back of page 2. But as part of the proposal,
expensive for the
what we
city.
would do is, every year, when we bring our capital improvement program forward, we would create the line item budgets for each of the different segments. For example, those items would be elimination of residential special assessments, reduction of non-residential special assessments, alley reconstruction, bridge maintenance, maintenance programming, rail crossing repairs, and then program expansion / reduction in borrowing. And every year, because for example, with the number of rail crossings in it, we'd be aggressive at doing the rail crossings in the beginning, and as that would go on, the number of rail crossings needing replacement would decrease. So now we'd be able to allocate that money to other portions of the project. So
does the railroad pay for some of that? I think they do, actually, right?
the way that rail crossings work is by statutes, the rail is supposed to take care of all the maintenance for the crossings. Now, they have two different programs for that. If you wait for them to do it, that part of their budget is very underfunded and they're way behind. Chances are you'll never see anything done. The other option is they have a special program that's funded better, where if the municipality where the crossing is chooses to participate at 50%, there's more funding in that program. And that's the program that the city of Green Bay has worked for the last couple of years with the railroad. That's why we've been getting, we've got 3 more crossings that'll be done this summer. So in the last couple of years, we would have done, I think the number's like 5 or 6, some of those, so.
Yeah, I have some friends that work in the railroad, and I know that they fix a lot, I don't know, with the budget that they have fixed up.
Yeah, it's just-
Well, thanks for that. I guess going back to the taxes, do we really need a wheel tax versus the taxes we pay on our, towards fixing our roads in Green Bay, either east side, west side? I guess this is gonna be for everybody in Green Bay. I mean, there's not enough money? Is that why we're going for a wheel tax?
Can you speak
That's
to-
a good question. Yeah, Barb?
I think it was mainly to get rid of special assessments, because the harm that was doing to the homeowners. So people that had to suddenly get a $42,000 bill to pay for. So I think that was the number one reason that I brought it forward, and there are other things we'll be able to do then with the funding, as was just stated.
But the special assessments shouldn't really be there, because everybody around Green Bay really doesn't have special assessments. They might have some, but not to fix the roads, and I guess that's what I'm getting, and hopefully you guys can answer the question for not just myself, but other people. Like for road repair and stuff, like Ashwaubenon actually has a fund that they fix their own roads.
Oh, you're right,
Yeah.
and so does Town of Scott, so do other places.
But we
We do
don't.
not. We have
So-
special assessments. So this
I
was
mean,
my
is it-
proposal to eliminate special assessments.
One thing I'd like to point out is that some of the other communities in the neighboring Green Bay area, the assessment rate varies from 100% of the cost to about 35% of the cost. There are neighboring communities where the residents pay 100% of a paving project.
And what one is that?
I believe that's Bellevue.
Oh, yep, you're right. Actually, now that I think that's the only one I did get, but otherwise, everybody else, actually, Bellevue and Green Bay are the only two that don't really, they have to pay. I guess, as a city taxpayer, I guess, as for everybody else, we just want to make it fair for everybody too. Elder, young, people that have bigger houses, and that's why we hire you guys to do the job for us and to really be involved. It's a tough job you guys have to do, and hopefully we can, everybody, it's hard to get everybody happy, but I think we can, with your experience and us paying taxes, keeps you guys employed. So thanks for your time, and hopefully it all will work out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else from the audience? Yes, sir.
Patrick Buckley, 3249 West Point Road, Green Bay. So we've outlined a number of uses for the money, as you had just gone through a number of them. Is that money currently taken off the levy right now? Just
Some
for
of these
all
things
these
are not
projects?
funded right now.
Okay. So the money that we're funding right now in the current budget, where would that money go if we're gonna pay for it out of the wheel tax?
Essentially, let me use the example of alley reconstruction right now, that's not funded. So this will give us funds to actually fund that money. Right now, most of these projects are funded with bonding.
Bonding?
Yeah.
Okay. And how much of the budget for public works is actually streets? I'm not talking about the special assessments. Goes towards repairing the roads.
That number I do not have with me.
Do you know what percentage of the budget it is?
No.
So we're gonna put in a tax on the wheel tax, and it includes like light commercial, smaller vehicles,
Yes, anything under 8,000 pounds.
anything under 8,000 pounds. But we can't sit here and talk about, because we don't have the information, about what we're doing with our existing money and how much it is that we're actually currently spending on roads.
I apologize for that, I'm sitting in for the director today.
That's fine, I understand, but I guess where I'm going with it is what percentage of our current budget in the city of Green Bay do we put towards the roads now? Does anybody, Barbara, would you happen to know?
I can speak to, I met with Director Grenier yesterday. Currently, out of the levy, the city only budgets approximately $200,000 to $250,000 per year, which is essentially enough to cover potholes. Everything else for road reconstruction is bonded. And the amount of the bond can vary from year to year, depending on what's approved in the overall bond request.
Right.
So that can, obviously, that bond request can include more than roads.
Correct. So, at what point in time is this going to? Is there a sunset on this, or is this just?
No, nothing's been passed yet.
No,
This is
the
a
proposal.
proposal.
Right.
The proposal is for $20 a year. There's been no talk of a sunset. In casual conversation, we've discussed that if there is a sunset clause, for 5 years we have this, oh, and oops, the next year your house is up, now you have to pay an assessment again. I don't think that's fair, and the alders I have talked to do not think that's fair. So we've not talked about a sunset clause. The main reason for this is to eliminate special assessments. We may be able to do some other things if it's the $20, such as the railroad crossings and the alleys, things that we aren't able to do right now.
And I can appreciate that. But as we know, in government, we have a lot of fees and a lot of other taxes within the government that each year tend to creep up. So is this a locked in stone? Is it $20 period unless?
As long as we, as the city council, choose to make it $20, it will be $20. If there is some desire to put a deadline on it for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, and then relook at it, that might be part of the proposal, of the final proposal. But
And if we exhausted all the means, and let me just back up on that. My concern on this is each year we're going to use the wheel tax to balance the budget, to get that little extra. So now we can fund a certain part of public works, and we can take the money from that we were spending on public works and use it some other part of the budget.
no. Oh, you mean, but never a wheel tax. You could never
Well,
use a wheel tax.
you could use a wheel tax. You got a pretty wide range of things you're using it for within the public works department right now. It's pretty broad, and based on what you're saying is, this could be changed on a yearly basis, what you're using it for, correct?
Within the scope of what we decided to be used for. The ideas in here cover some of the needs of the city right now.
But each year, the alderman could vote to change where the money goes towards, correct?
I suppose we could do anything.
I mean, the state
With
sets
this
the
reason,
parameters.
the money is specifically needs to be spent on transportation.
Yeah.
Right, so, but it could go to offset the public works budget, correct?
The bonding,
Or you could actually put it towards some of the bonding. I guess where I'm going with it, my concern is that we put this in place, similar like we put a lot of other fees in place, and each year they keep creeping up. And a lot of times the fees are crept up so that we can balance the budget. So I do have a concern that, similar to like the 0.5% sales tax for the county, these are the projects we're gonna do with it. We have a list of projects we're gonna do with the wheel tax, or is that open-ended?
I think we have a list of projects we're gonna do. I think it's
What streets?
stated in there. What streets?
Yeah.
I'm certain that Director Grenier has the long-term plan.
Basically, Mr. Buckley, what ends up happening is every year we will end up bringing forward a list of streets that we're doing as part of our capital improvement program. So you will know those years, what streets will be done that year, and we're in the process of generating a 5-year CIP. So what'll happen is it'll just be a progression of keep going through those lists.
Okay. Well, as a taxpayer, I believe right now, the city of Green Bay gets a lot of tax revenue, one of the higher ones in Brown County. And now we're gonna put yet another tax on. And my concern is that it's gonna go other places other than just just for roads. It's gonna end up using it to backfill the budget, like a lot of other fees end up doing. So, as you proceed forward with this committee, I would ask that you take some of those considerations and maybe, if it's gotta be renewed each year, where it's going to has to be renewed. But I would hope that the aldermen in the entire city have gone through the whole budget and had the opportunity to say, there's absolutely no waste in the city government, and we need more money. Because if you live in the city of Green Bay and you pay city taxes, they're not cheap. And I quite think for a city this size, we could do better planning. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the, Alderman Vanderleest?
Thank you. My thoughts are that the city of Green Bay has not done a great job as far as budgeting to repair our roads. I think enacting another tax, I think is not really the answer. I think we have enough money come in. We bond for a lot of different items. We bonded for $5 million for Bay Beach for swimming, for the project out there. And we bonded for $900,000 on decorative lighting. I think that if we're looking to generate $2 million a year, I think that $2 million a year is in our budget, within our budget range. We're taking about $107 million. Don't quote me exactly on that figure. But I think that if we're looking for $2 million revenue generated through the wheel tax, I think that we can find that right in our budget right now. We're talking about a lot of different projects, and I feel that whatever we have to budget for the roads, we've not done a great job. We've only budgeted a small amount of money towards the road improvements, and we don't have a set pattern on what we're budgeting for as far as the roads. It's minimal. I think that we can increase what we can with the money that we have. We don't have to enact another tax. I think we can budget it, and planning, I think is what we've been lacking on getting it done as far as the roads. And that's my thoughts on it. And myself, I do not support the wheel tax for that reason. I think it's just another form of taxation. We've got enough of it already. Every time we buy gasoline, we're paying about 50, 60 cents a gallon for road repairs. Anybody that buys gas understands that. And I think that we got to take another look at, enacting the wheel tax. I think we got to look at our budget, and that's where it's got to come from, right out of the money that we have right now. And that's my thoughts on it, and I thank you.
Thanks, John. Anybody else from the audience? Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Chair. This has been a long drawn-out project, if you will, process. I guess one of the questions I would have of Jim, the fact that, okay, some years ago, it seemed like that road repairs were taken care of in the budget. And when did that change for the city? Any idea when that was lessened, if you will? Because I believe
3.5 years that I've been here, it's always been the same.
I think that's one of the concerns. I agree a little bit with Alder Vanderleest as far as the fact that it should be, I feel it should be a line item eventually in our budget. I also am really against some of these special assessments that are so high, that seem to be inappropriate for some of the folks. So there's gotta be a happy medium somewhere. I think one of the,
Excuse me,
yeah.
Barb, could you take it outside, please?
I'm staying here.
Okay, thank you.
My train is left.
Continue, Mark.
Where was I?
Special assessments that you were not happy
Right, well,
with.
some years ago, I paid for my road. It was about $800. And I think they gave me 3 years to pay it. So I dealt with it, and that was fine. I think a lot of times when you live in a city, there's a whole situation where like, okay, we pay public school taxes. Well, I don't have children in public school, but I still pay that tax. So, I think folks need to understand that, if you live in a city, that there are going to be certain things that you're going to have to deal with, and that's just one of those things. Some of the things that Alder Dorf brings up, I think, are great. I guess the one thing the question I have is the sunset. And I think anytime you put a sunset clause in something like this, then it's like, well, we better hurry up and get everything done. We do what, 2%, 1.5% to 2% of our roads a year? My thought is if we could do 3 to 4% a year over a 30-year period, you could do the entire city. So if there was a way that we could bring this back into the budget, I think that would be very important. So I'm still a little torn as far as the parameters of the $20 tax. I personally would do it. I don't have a lot of money, but I would personally do it. There are some folks that would not, but I think there's going to be some good discussion on this, also at City Council. At this time, I feel that we need to do something. We've waited 10, 12 years, and it's backed up on us. So now we're at a point where is the state helping us out? Not a lot. We don't have any other alternatives. What are the other alternatives? So I think we're kind of between a rock and a hard place with this. So I'm leaning toward it right now. I was against it before, but I feel that we have to do something. I think we might have to discuss the whole thing with the sunset clause. I mean, my feeling is that if we bring it forward, it'll be there in perpetuity for 10, 12, 14 years, maybe longer. And that could be an issue as well. My feeling, though, is if we can do our roads, if we could do 3 to 4% a year over a period of 30 years, we'd have the entire city done. And I think that's the goal we need to look at, however we do it. At this time, I'm leaning toward it, but there's more discussion to be had. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, anybody else from the audience? Anybody else? Don't be shy. One more time. Anybody else? All right, entertain a motion to return to regular order of business by Burnett, second by
Second?
Query, under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, we're in regular order of business. What are the wishes of the committee? Concerns? Any comments or concerns?
I think we all have comments.
Jump in. Alderman Johnson.
I'll start with some questions maybe for staff, and a number of my questions were answered by Director Grenier, which I'll reserve for commentary. So just for clarity's sake, the state sets the parameter on some of these, and you alluded to the fact, Jim, that 8,000 pounds is the limit that is set by the state. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the other thing in that too is there are some plate types that are exempt from the wheel tax as well.
Okay. So, and the reason it's a relevant question, of course, is the discussion around business exemption. And, do we do exemption? Do we do 50%? Do we do 100%? I want to talk about levy limits a little bit right now. Right now, because part of the talk was, why don't we just pay for this through our budget? I wish Diana was here. I saw her here before, but she left. I mean, the state really restricts us on the amount that we could even raise taxes. I mean, do you have any additional information on what those numbers are? And
I don't have any numbers on that, but the program that you're referring to is the expenditure restraint program.
Right.
Where the city is limited on how much they can raise. Expenses versus revenues, I believe it is, there's some ratio out there, and you're only allowed to stay within so much or you lose your state aid.
Right. And it's my understanding that, I mean, if we were to try to pay for this through our general levy, I mean, that we wouldn't be able to do that, it would risk
Correct.
that. Okay. Is it possible for individuals who have had assessments, say, I'm arbitrarily throwing out a number, in the last 5 years, is it possible to exempt them from the wheel tax?
That is something that you as a committee and council members will have to decide.
But administratively, would it be possible to do so?
I think that would have to be crafted into the ordinance.
Okay. Does the city have, I know that we talk about how the city has a reconstruction plan. Our streets are graded, correct?
Correct.
And how does that grading system work?
Basically, the streets are graded with a system called the Phaser system. It's a grading system from 0 to 10, 10 being the best streets, and 1 basically being a really bad street. And essentially, every odd year, we have someone go around and we assign a rating to every stretch of street in the city of Green Bay.
Okay, and do you know how many or what percentage of those streets are in need of immediate reconstruction?
I don't have the percentage off that head, no.
Okay. So when I'm looking at this plan that's in front of us, the different uses, one of the uses that's called out is program expansion or a reduction in borrowing.
Correct.
What I want to understand from that is, are we reserving the right, I mean, $425,000 is what's allocated in that, and I understand that's just the first year proposal, that could change in subsequent years.
Right.
But we have $425,000 allocated to that field. My question for that is, if we choose one or the other, meaning program expansion, reduction in borrowing, if we chose reduction in borrowing, does that mean that those improvements are now not being made to our streets?
If that goes to reduction in borrowing, yes, that would go right to debt service.
And we're not repairing streets then?
Correct. But on the other hand, if you look at, we're taking in about 1.1 in special assessments now, so if we do put that towards additional program expansion, that kind of gives you a magnitude of how many additional streets you'd be able to do.
Okay. And so to the comments that I made earlier, as a point of clarification, right now, the city basically bonds for all of its street reconstruction, with the exception of some, again, pothole repair, which is in the levy.
Correct.
The amount of bonding can fluctuate from year to year.
Correct.
Do you know, and I understand you may not have this number, but I mean, do we have any historical knowledge about how much we've bonded from year to year? Has that number gone down? Has it gone up?
It fluctuates, and one of the reasons it fluctuates too is the cost of construction continually goes up, so you're gonna see some of that. But it does go up and down from year to year.
Okay, so, and that's a good point. So Steve made that comment to me that last year construction costs alone rose 27%. So all things equal, we've repaired 27% less streets.
Yes.
Okay, and construction costs, I presume, have been steadily growing the last few years?
It's actually leveled off a little bit these last couple of years, but like 3-4 years ago, we were seeing some pretty large increases, yes.
Okay. I think that's what I've got for questions right now. I'll have commentary later, but I'll let these other guys ask questions.
Thank you. Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Jim. Kind of contradiction. At one point, you said that the construction costs went up 27% last year, I thought I heard, and then you just said that it stayed stable the last few years?
I'd have to get those actual numbers for you to be specific, Jesse.
So there was a huge
I guess what I'm
climb
trying to
when
say
you did-
is there is a general fluctuation from year to year. For example, right now we have pretty constant oil costs, so the cost of asphalt stays pretty steady. But with that being said, sometimes you start seeing with the spurt in growth, now you see a large demand for concrete products, so concrete prices may be going up. So you see some of those normal business fluctuations as well.
Okay. You have one question too I had is that you said that there are some plates that were exempt from the wheel tax.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? What?
Well, for example, is you got antique plates, you've got, there's like 6 or 8 different categories of plates. I don't have the list with me of what's exempt and what's not.
Handicap plates.
But we can get that for you.
One question then, this would be important for the area that I represent. Someone floated the idea out there, I don't know if it's true, but they said that tribal members would be exempt from paying Oneida tribal
You can't
members.
answer that I don't know.
That's probably
If
true.
you could get that answer, that would be very important.
Sure.
For me. All right, that's the only question I had at this point.
Okay, Alderman Worry, you have any comments or concerns?
Oh, I have some comments. I think most of our questions have probably been answered in the last 12 months. And we all know, our streets are getting done about 1.5%, and looking around the area and around the state, we really should be doing 3%. I think everybody acknowledges that, 3 or more. And I think that should be the goal. I'm really not interested in a wheel tax unless we double our road work. I think I've mentioned that every time. We need to double our road work. We don't want to stay even with the wheel tax. We want to get ahead, aggressively ahead. And so, to do that, I'd be interested in actually reducing or eliminating some of these line items that are proposed, like the alley reconstruction, bridge maintenance, maintenance programs, and railroad crossings, because those were all coming from other sources. Special budget, we budgeted for railroad repairs and maintenance programming. If we take it out of here, now it's going to be totally out of the budget. I think it should stay in the budget, and we put more money towards doing the roads, doubling our road work or more, because we are woefully behind. Now, as part of this too, we need some oversight and some accountability. So we'd have to have some kind of annual report to the Improvement Service Committee. Here's our 5 years of projected roads. This is exactly what we want to do, and here's what we did in the last 5 years. So that everybody can know. I know that was a big deal with people out on Hillcrest. A year ahead of time, they're like, "You were doing your road." I think people should know years ahead of time. They might not have to pay for it, but we should let them know. They're on the radar. Interested in exploring the idea of maybe sunsetting it. I don't know, we'd have to somehow agree as a council to work in X amount every year into the budget, whether it's $250,000 in 8 years, we've replaced it and we sunset it. Those are all ideas. It's easier said than done. You've got to find that pocket to put it in, but that's intriguing. I like the idea of somehow exempting those who've paid their assessment in the last however many years, maybe exempt them for a while on the wheel tax, because that gets asked a lot. People will say, "Well, I just did my road last year, and now you're putting this in." And they want that part of the discussion, whether it goes anywhere or not. That's all I have right now. I mean, I'm willing to start things off with motions, but I don't know if anybody else has comments or questions.
Thank you, Alderman Worry. Any other concerns or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I do have one comment.
Okay, Alderman Burnett.
I don't think in government, I think we have this tendency, especially on the federal level, to come up with comprehensive things. Like, it's got to be comprehensive or it's just not going to work. Everything's got to be comprehensive. There's no problem, as far as I'm concerned, in piloting something to see how is this going to work for the next 2 years or 3 years. I don't think you want to tie it into an election cycle of the city council, because as we've seen, not pointing fingers, but I think some people might be less inclined to make a decision because they're fearful how the voters would respond to that. Let's be real, that's just the real world of government and politics. So if we piloted something, perhaps $10 rather than this $20, that removes special assessments on residential properties. That's what I'm most concerned about, quite frankly. This idea that we're gonna go to residents a couple weeks or months before the road is set to be replace and say, here's an assessment for 13,000, 20,000, 30, 42. That's the type of thing that people say is not right, it's not just, it's not fair. We gotta do differently in how we notify the public that the roads are going to be on the list for repairs in the future. So, we don't need to have this $20 all or nothing forever and ever. This is gonna be part of our tax revenue we generate in this city. I don't think that there's anything wrong with piloting something, see how this goes in 3 years, and you need to hold the, and again, with great sensitivity, because I don't want this to be viewed as a criticism towards our staff or administration, but if we say to Public Works, for $10 wheel tax for the next year 2, year 3, you're gonna get revenue, if according to what my figures say, if we had a $10 a year wheel tax, and there are an estimate of 105,000 cars registered in the city of Green Bay, that is revenue of over $1 million. Actually, and then there's a 17-cent fee for the state. The state collects 17 cents per car registration. So that would be revenue of over $1 million, $1,032,000, so $1.03 million. The special assessments charged to residential properties is $750,000. So the amount that you collect on $10 wheel tax is sufficient to remove residential assessments. And then we can talk about what rate do we reduce that for commercial or non-residential properties. Say if we were to reduce that by half, which is one of the scenarios listed here, that would still give the city $107,000 per year to kind of play around with, assuming we don't do the other things on this wish list. If it's just to remove residential assessments and to reduce non-residential assessments, we still have a buffer of $100,000. So I honestly am not prepared to make a motion because I don't even know how I would put that in a motion, but we don't have to do this all or nothing residential. Here's all the projects we're gonna knock out. We could try something for a year or 2 or 3 years. If it doesn't work, Public Works isn't doing what the revenue is specified for, then we can revoke it. Then we don't have to worry about, I think the public would be okay with that. People I've heard with, and this is before the Hillcrest issue that came up in my district, out campaigning, knocking on doors, I was more against than I was for the wheel tax, talking to people, hearing their input. It was like 70-30, 70% were in favor of a wheel tax. I don't think most people know as in depth as what we have in front of us as a council. And maybe 30 were dead set against it, many of which were against it for the reason Alderman Johnson indicated that, hey, I just paid for a special assessment. It's not fair to then, charge me a wheel tax. Those are concerns. So I'm not gonna make any more comments other than we don't have to do this all or nothing comprehensive $20 over $2 million in revenue. The main thrust, the main thing that I want to accomplish is to remove the residential assessments.
Okay. Anything else, Jesse?
No.
If not, Alderman Dorf.
I just want to point out that would not allow us to do additional roads. That's something that, and so maybe $15, but if we just did 10, we're not going to be able to get a higher percentage of roads done each year. So I just want to make sure you understand that.
Well, I do, and one thing, and again, that this is why I was kind of on the fence, because I think that the city should, through all the development and growth that we're initiating and endorsing and giving tax incentives and tax increment and all that, we're doing that for a reason. We're doing that to generate growth for the tax base. So if that doesn't come to the tax rolls eventually, 15, 20, 30 years, then why in the world are we doing all these tax increment districts other than improving blighted parts of our city or cities that haven't seen development in years? So part of this pilot project is to then slowly, so we don't exceed what the state allows us to exceed in spending, gradually say over the next 3 years or 5 years, we're going to budget more from levy to support the expansions of the, so there's got to be that sunset that I heard about. Not sunset for the sake of sunsetting because it's a false promise, but sunsetting for the sake of saying that this city government is going to do better with the money that we're generating from economic development and growth. And I think going door to door, talking to people at length and hearing their opinions, that's what I hear. Why in the world is the city not, budgeting for these things out of their general revenue? Why are we growing our downtown if we're never going to see that money for the rest of the city? So, anyways, thank you for your comment. That would be my response to that.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Burnett. Any concern? Alderman Johnson?
I don't hate the philosophy. Actually, I like the philosophy behind what you're talking about. I guess what I would say then is why implement a wheel tax at all? Because to me, it just confuses people. If you come out with 10, we're going to do it for 2 years, and in 2 years, maybe we come out with 20, maybe we eliminate it. I would say just bond the $750,000 then. Eliminate it and pilot it that way. And avoid the whole hassle of doing a wheel tax and in fielding those types of issues. But I think I'll be honest. When I talked with people about this, I wasn't a huge fan of the wheel tax either. I wanted to figure out a way that we could pay for this through the general levy. And through the process in educating myself on this, one of the things that I've learned is that we do have restrictions, unfortunately, and we do have the inability to do certain things. And one of those is, we really don't have a strong ability to raise taxes, at least at the amount that would be required to properly fix the roads. We can increase the bonding, of course, but when you increase the bonding, you're increasing your debt service, which, you're paying for through your budget, which you can do, but I think it's my understanding that our bond rating has been hurt or has been downgraded because we are bonding too much. And so I question whether or not bonding more is the right practice or policy. From what I understand, a very significant percentage of the city's overall budget is salaries. Of course, we can have that debate. Do we cut staff? Do we cut, but that's a much bigger discussion. That is a discussion beyond what we're going to have here at INS. That's a discussion, I think, if we're going to say, how do we start paying for these things through our annual budget, that's a finance committee discussion. And in the meantime, our roads still need attention. And that's where I think I come to a head on this. And so Alderman Weary brought up, hey, some of these things on here we could do without. That's actually one of the things that I want to discuss. Look, if we move forward with a $20 wheel tax, I'm not a fan of reduction in borrowing. I think that's got to go because people want to see streets. They don't want to see us paying back debt. So if we're going to tell them we're passing the wheel tax because we're going to improve streets for you, we're going to make more streets, but by the way, all that money's going to be used for reduction in borrowing, for maintaining bridges, for maintenance programming. We're going to fix some railroads, which should be fixed by the railroad companies. Now that said, I'm more of a fan of the railroad piece because of the match program and knowing that the railroads are a big problem and we've got to do that. But alley reconstruction and resurfacing, I don't know that that's our highest priority and need right now when you drive down some of our city streets and you're dodging potholes. So I think I'm leaning more and more towards the wheel tax. I don't think it should be a forever tax. I don't think I would support imposing a sunset, however. I think the council and our leadership at City Hall needs to have the courage to be able to pull the wheel tax when it's time, and I think it should be a phased approach, and maybe that's the way we go about this discussion. We say, you know what, and I don't know how you tie these two together. I'm open to that discussion, but we're gonna do a wheel tax so that way we can make progress on the roads right now, while having this goal or expectation that we are going to start budgeting for streets out of our annual budget within the next, say, 5 years. I'm making that number up, but I think that's a reasonable approach.
Anything else, Alderman Johnson?
Now, I got a whole bunch of.
Alderman Steuer.
I threw out one idea before and there was, some people said yes, some said no, but the thought would be over a 5-year period, if we did this tax, collect 20, next year 16, 12, 8, and then 4. Decrease it over a period of 5 years, and then segue that into our budget somehow, so that it's not all 20, 20, 20 all the way across. Just something to think about, and if it's feasible, great, if not, but that was just one thought that I had. I'm not sure how that would exactly work with the numbers, but, you know, like Alderman Johnson mentioned, you know, we are limited as far as how much we can raise our taxes. And I think, you know, and what Alder Vanderleest said as well, you know, the fact, if we could put it back in our budget, I think that would be great, but I think we're limited. The state can't help us out either, so we gotta get creative. So, you know, Alder Dorf has her talked about the $20 all the way across, maybe not a sunset as well, but I was thinking about something where it would be progressively less each year over a 5-year period, and after that time period, then you could slowly bring that back into our budget. So that's just another point of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other concerns or questions? Alderman Dorf, and then Mr. Christians.
I just want to reemphasize the point, Brian, that I'm glad you did make about our bonding, because our bond rating is in jeopardy. We have, our debt service is too high. As chairperson of the Finance Committee, I've been trying to get more and more familiar with where we stand budget-wise and where we stand with our debt service. So increasing our bonding is not something that we can do, as you said, without potentially harming our rating. In that case, we pay more interest. In that case, it costs us more. So it's all being paid for eventually by the taxpayers. Thank you.
Yeah, I need a motion to open up the floor for interested parties. So moved.
Second.
Motion to open up the floor by Johnson, second by Woody, under discussion. Here none, all in favor. Aye. Nays and motion carried. Okay, the floor is now open. State your name and address for the record.
Gary Christens, 2805 Classic Drive. Just wanted to make a comment. This wheel tax started off to get rid of special assessments. So after discussion tonight, we're talking about $750,000 that we're trying to take off the residential property tax person from getting that special assessment. Based upon the 2016 budget of approximately $162 million for the city of Green Bay, $750,000 is less than 0.5%. Should be able to find that someplace. So if your concern is getting that residential 750, gosh, I hope their aldermen in this city are smart enough to find 750,000. The other thing is, we keep talking about collecting $2 million to offset 750,000. So this isn't about getting rid of special assessments. This is about finding more money, which I want everyone in the city of Green Bay to realize that. If you're going to sell this as getting rid of special assessments, then don't talk about $20 that will raise $2 million. And my last comment is, if you want, maybe I can remember my last comment, but I really think you need, I'm sorry. My last comment is, the other thing that I keep hearing is, we're gonna get rid of the residential special assessment, and then we'll think about maybe reducing by 50% the commercial. Well, if the commercial people have a car less than 8,000 pounds, yes, they're gonna pay the wheel tax. But most commercial, I can tell you, Baycare probably doesn't have any cars at all. And so now you're going to take some of the wheel tax that I'm paying and give it to the commercial, so the residential are now going to start funding the commercial side. This thing has a lot of holes and it needs to be tightened up if you're gonna go forward with it. Thank you again.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Say your name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Buckley, 3249 West Point Road. To the previous gentleman here, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, did we used to spend about 3% of the budget on roads years back? And now we're down to about 1%?
Jim might be able to those numbers,
But I can't get them for you.
That would be great, because it's my understanding, we used to spend about 3% on the roads, and now we're down to 1%. So, you know, 2%.
I think that was the percentage of the roads being repaired, not a percentage of the budget.
Well, there was a percentage of the budget that was put towards repairing the roads. Not everything was always bonded for. So I think that's one point. As far as the commercial goes, there's a lot of commercial facilities that aren't much different from residential as far as how they pay or how they should have to pay. They're no different. I think we look at commercial as always a large employer if you want to use Aurora, but there's a lot of small mom and pop commercial establishments, and you know what? They may only have 2 employees, 3 employees there. How much of that road are they really using too? So they can be applied with commercial too. I appreciate Jesse's comments on the, how much do we really need. If we're really about the special assessments, then we should talk about it. But when you look at the document, I apologize, I just got this shortly after we were trying to come up with some information. And so I think looking at it, there's a line under each scenario, amount left over for other programming. It appeared to be a very large number compared to what you're actually putting towards or offsetting in the residential assessments. So that's where I worry that we're using this more as a slush fund to help fund other things. We're just going to divert money throughout the budget into other areas or other shortfalls. So I would hope that before this even gets to the city council that this would get sent back to staff to come up with maybe a couple different options that are more clarified on what the money is actually going towards. And if it is truly going towards roads, then let's name the roads that they're going to, and that it's only for road construction. It's not to supplement the 6 guys we have out there filling cracks, not to supplement their pay. It's to actually be paid out as road reconstruction. And we probably wouldn't need $20 or $30 a vehicle. So again, I would encourage you to just send it back and get some more clarification on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the audience? Okay. Entertain a motion to return to regular order of business. Aye.
So moved.
Johnson, second by Worry, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor. Nays, motion carried. Okay, we're back in regular order of business. What are the wishes, concerns, questions, comments from the committee?
Make a motion,
Okay, Alderman Worry.
just to get it started, and we can amend it or kill it, whatever, but it'll get to council, and we're gonna have a much more in-depth conversation, I'm sure. Barb has more to say about it, and others. I'll make a motion to approve the $20 wheel tax. And then, with the allocation not as listed, but I'll list how I'm gonna start it off. I would generate the 2.1 million, correct? Is what the number we're going off of. I would have 1.675 going towards streets. That doubles the amount of street work we do. And it allows some room, because I hear we might need some engineering help, and we might have to go outside for that. That allows a little room for that. 175,000 stays in place for the non-residential. I think the discount of half is reasonable based on the information we have. Some small businesses, yes, they're gonna get hit twice. They're gonna get wheel tax and assessed. That's pretty cool. And then I would increase the railroad crossings to 250,000. Because that, I think, Alderman Van, at least you bring it up a lot, we get a lot of complaints about our railroad crossings. There are a lot of them in horrible shape. And that's something, once you address them, they're gonna slowly fade away. But those have been a bugger for the last 5-6 years. And so that's what I'm gonna propose, and the reason I took out some of those, alley restructuring or reconstruction, we get out of our federal, the CDGB money. We pay for that out of our federal
Would
money.
be alleys outside of that program.
Mhm.
Okay,
Those alleys that have not been
Okay.
funded in the past.
okay. The maintenance is already in our budget, so I took that out. We should leave that as a budgeted item. I don't want to start lowering that amount. So this at least gets it started. There's a lot of other topics, and we can pick it apart, but I'll see if there's a second for that, and we can move forward.
Okay, motion on the floor, is there a second?
Could I offer a friendly amendment?
Yep.
It sounds like your proposal, as it stands, would leave special assessments in place.
Oh, no, it would eliminate it. Yeah, that's the whole purpose of the wheel tax, yes, is to eliminate special assessments
Because
for residential.
you said 1.675 towards streets.
That's how much money is generated. I was looking at it that way. The only purpose for the wheel tax would be to eliminate the residential assessments. And so now I'm looking at the income side of where it's gonna go.
So we'd be looking at, I just want to be clear, we're generating 2.1, you're eliminating, taking 750 off. For special assessments, you're going 250 for railroad. 175 for commercial, and the balance would go to program
Additional road
expansion.
work. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would second that.
That's another way. to
Okay,
look at it.
second by Alderman Johnson. We're under discussion. Alderman Johnson, do you want any comments? or anything?
Yeah, I would actually like to add, I would like to propose an amendment. And that amendment would be passage of the program contingent upon delivery of a 5-year reconstruction plan that specifically identifies which streets will be repaired.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I actually have that in my notes here, to have an annual report to INS.
I'm looking for more than an annual.
Well, let's do that. Okay, go ahead, Johnson.
One suggestion I
Johnson.
would make is if you look at the last paragraph of the memo, each one of these uses would be reviewed annually as part of the CIP. So I would make the suggestion of adopting the program as listed in the memo, and then you have that opportunity to change these budget amounts every year when we bring our CIP forward. And obviously, this will be talked about more at council, because these ones are the ones that are listed today. Tomorrow, there may be other items that as we go forward, we find other categories that you may want to include. That's only a suggestion I have.
So Jim, the way that I understand that is we passed this today, we're not, I mean, in theory, we're not, a plan is still gonna come forward yet with how
Correct.
much needs to be spent.
Correct.
Making
As
our
part of
dicing up of
every-
this probably irrelevant, I guess.
Yeah, every spring, we bring forward our capital improvement program, typically about the end of February. Just like the mayor stated in his initial opening statements is in August through October, when you guys are looking at the budget, you see DPW's budget. Then in addition to that, you see our bond request in spring, which is referred to our capital improvement program. And in there typically is a list of all the streets, all the programs, all the subdivisions that are going, the bridges that we're working on, and, you know, those types of details. Steve's intent with this memo would be to take the money generated from the wheel tax and now determine these allocations on a yearly basis. So I don't think you need to go through and determine those allocations tonight.
Anything else, Jim?
No.
You still want to pursue an amendment? Go
I
ahead.
think
you got the
that's,
floor.
I mean, it's Chris's motion, so he would,
I'm going to leave it as is, because I think it's important. I'm only going to back the wheel tax if we do double the road work.
well, and actually, my amendment is the one that's up for discussion
Oh.
right now. So
Right.
I'm saying a 5-year plan. I understand that we come forward every year with, here's the streets we're gonna do. And I understand that if we come forward with a 5-year plan, it doesn't mean that it can't change. Priorities change. Roads, you know, the condition of them can change. But I don't think it's unreasonable for us to say, you know what, if we've got the roads graded right now, I don't feel like it's unreasonable to say if we're gonna give you X amount of dollars every year, that we can tell you for the next 5 years, this is the order that's gonna go in, and every year we can reevaluate that order based on changing conditions in the roadwork. Because at least that's one of the concerns that I hear a lot of times, and what I think we visibly saw when the special assessment debate came up is, we had individuals that were being given 2 months' notice about a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 assessment. And if we have a long-term plan, why is it that we're only able to give people 2 months' notice? And so maybe that's a policy adjustment, but I go back to, if we've got a 5-year plan that we can put in front of people and say, these are the streets we're going to fix, subject to revision every year. So that's the amendment, that's my argument on it.
Do you mind if I put it into a more formal wording? Because I wrote it out, actually, because I think it's...
You're more experienced
Well,
at this,
it's in
Chris.
the
Go for
memo.
it.
I think it's important for the public to know this is part of it, and this is something that we want.
Okay, just
That's-
one second, Alderman Wery. He made a motion for an amendment.
And I'm just going to
Now,
reword it and see.
you're gonna, okay, and what you're gonna do is drop your motion and have a new one?
No, the main motion's in place. We're
Mhm.
discussing an amendment to it.
It's in place, but we didn't vote on it yet. So with the amendment, why don't we just start over? Why don't we just end
All right.
your motion?
Fair enough.
Let's clean this up so it's crisp and clean.
That's fair.
So
make a motion.
basically,
I'll
there is
withdraw
no
the
second
motion.
on the
Okay.
amendment, it dies. And do you want to take your
Yeah.
motion
Yep.
off the floor
Yep.
and create a new?
Sure.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve the $20 wheel tax with some caveats that staff annually present to the Improvement Service Committee the status of the wheel tax funds with a 5-year projection of road projects and a report of projects completed in the previous 5 years. And that the committee review and approve allocation of amounts or percentages to what road priorities they wish done.
Second.
That kind of
Okay.
encapsulates the oversight and accountability.
there's a motion to that effect, and by Wery, second, do you have more?
Now, I just wanted to repeat the other part that,
Okay, you have the
How it'd
floor,
be
and then
allocated,
I'll
that would-
recognize the
all
second
right.
when you're finished.
the allocation part would be the reduction, the elimination of all residential assessments. And the reduction of the commercial by half, as proposed by staff. So that would generate $2.1 million, of that 1.675 approximately. We're just saying we're doubling our road work. We want to get back to 3% or more. I know those numbers will change, but I'm just trying to get that out there. The $175,000 is to offset the commercial, $250,000 towards the railroads. I'm just repeating what I said before.
Okay. Jim, do you have that?
I do know.
Get ahead on the railroads, get ahead on the roads. That's what
Okay.
people want to see, is way behind.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay, motion, second by Johnson, under discussion. Alderman Johnson?
Before I'd offer up a second, I mean, I just want clarity on.
I
on the
just
motion.
recognize that second, that you
Oh,
don't
that's
want a
okay.
second now?
Well, I want clarity on the motion. Is it,
Okay, first of all, I recognize the second, we're under discussion. Do you want your second, or you want to withdraw the second? Because I need a second to continue with his motion.
I'll second it for
Okay,
discussion.
there's a second by Johnson, we're under discussion. Alderman Johnson, you got the floor.
So I didn't catch the tail end of the railroad piece that you were talking about. Are you getting into,
Yeah, I was just roughly laying out where it should be.
okay,
And
but we're
that's
not,
right.
you're not your motion does not include us dictating how this funding will be spent, other than elimination of assessments and 50% reduction on commercial.
Well, it did the first time and it did the second time. I understand it can be changed later, but it's my goal out of the chute to double our road work. That's why I put it in there.
Council's gonna eat this up
Exactly.
anyway, so.
Exactly.
Okay,
I'm
anything
just
else?
trying to get something to council.
Anything else, Alderman Johnson?
No.
Okay. Any other concerns or questions? Alderman Burnett?
So I'm going to vote no, and it's not because I don't support the overall concept of a wheel tax. You're right, Alderman Weary and the others, the council's going to really pick this apart and it's gonna be a process, I still think that we can accomplish the removal of special assessments on residential properties if we institute a $10 wheel tax and make a plan and a commitment of sunsetting that within 5 years so that all roads are done through general levy and bonding. I think that's the direction I'm headed. So my vote for many of the constituents here who I represent, my vote is not an outright denial of the concept of the wheel tax. I just think that we can do it without the $20 and we can have be a little more firm with the city and those in government to say enough is enough. We have to develop a plan to pay for roads out of our general tax levy and bonding.
Okay, any other questions or concerns? If not, we're gonna take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
No.
No. Motion fails. Does anybody want to entertain another motion, or should we just send no recommendation to council?
I have a motion and
Okay.
It's up to the council.
Alderman Burnett?
So I have a motion to refer to city staff a request to create 3 different proposals for instituting a $10 annual wheel tax to completely eliminate residential assessments and which sunsets within 5 years as the city transitions and commits to a plan of paying for street repairs and replacements from general levy and bonding dollars.
Okay, motion to that effect. Jim, do you have that?
I can get it from Jesse.
Oh, you wrote it down? Okay. Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it for discussion. We're under discussion. Any Alderman Johnson?
I think the only comment that I'd make on it is, well, you know, we're talking about special assessments, and I think that's definitely been a motivator behind a lot of the dialogue. My objection, I guess, again, Jesse, just like you, I support the wheel tax concept. My objection to this proposal is it doesn't fix more streets. And you talk about a 5-year time, and maybe that's an artificial number, but for us to say that we have to figure out how our budget works, and it's gonna take us maybe up to 5 years to do that before we can fix more streets, I think that's why I'm gonna vote no on this one, because when I vote for the $20 wheel tax, the special assessment is a piece of the dialogue for me. The bigger piece of it for me, though, is fixing streets.
Okay, anything else, Brian? Comments, concerns? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Is there a second? I don't know. Did somebody?
I
who
second it for
it?
discussion. We're under discussion at this time. I'll just say, any more concerns or questions? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
No.
No. Okay, no recommendation. You want to try one more motion, gentlemen? If not, we're going to move on with no recommendation to the council. Looks like we're moving on. So we're at number 6, consideration of possible action on a report of the purchasing manager. Jim, do you got any concerns that you want to address to us with these 4 issues? Or,
Yeah, I'll just go through them real quick.
all right, well, let me read them for the record then. 6A, request approval to purchase front-end loader with bucket and snow plow from Airing Equipment Company, 181-835. Jim?
Okay, on this one, purchasing went out and did bids for this. We had 7 individual vendors come in with proposals. Staff had reviewed the proposals, and what we discovered was the 4 lowest vendors did not meet the criteria that was put out in the proposal as far as safety requirements. So what we're recommending is going with the lowest vendor number 5, which is the Airing Equipment Company, in the amount as listed. They met all of the standards and the safety requirements
Okay.
as looked at by staff.
All right, any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion, pardon?
Is it to approve? Is that-
Motion to approve, correct, by Burnett, second by...
Second.
We're under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. B, request approval to purchase variable speed drives from Gray Bar for $21,685. Any concerns, Jim?
No, this one was, we got two proposals back. This is to replace some drives at an existing, I believe it's a sanitary lift station.
Okay,
And we recommend going with the low vendor, which is Gray Bar.
okay. Entertain a motion
Motion to approve?
by Worry, second by
Second.
Johnson. Under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays motion carried. C, request approval award a contract for masonry and truck pointing repairs at 4 lift stations to Jake's Incorporated for $19,439. Any concerns, Jim?
No, again, two bids were
Entertain a
received, the
motion.
numbers were good. We recommend award to low response.
Okay,
which is
entertain a
our
motion.
James.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson to approve, second
Second.
by Burnett. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays motion carried. D, request approval, purchase a new Hyteria portable radio system from Nielsen Communications Incorporated for $171,636. Any concerns, Jim?
Chris will talk about this one.
Okay, any
No, there
concerns,
are-
Chris?
No, no concerns. It was a
Okay.
single source vendor because we've already started building a digital radio system based on the digital Hytera system, so it makes it consistent. We don't have to integrate any extra equipment. It's all.
Sounds good. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
By Burnett, second by
Second.
Johnson. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays motion carried. Number 7, report of actions taken by Department of Public Works. Award of contract. What happened to my computer here?
Jim bumped the key. My
Oh,
guess.
okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, number 1, no bids received, 2018 lift station re-roofing.
That one, we're going to rebid. It's back on the street purchasing, put that back out there. So they use a different group of contractors than what DPW does. We're hoping to
Right.
get bids on that one.
You looking for an approval, or what are you looking for?
That could be received and placed in file.
Motion to receive and place on file?
By Worry, second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays motion carried. 2, approve to award parking ramp repairs 2018 to the low responsible bidder, Central Restoration LLC, in the amount of $455,850. Director Burnett?
That one, again, we had, I believe it was 3 bids, and we recommend going with Central Restoration. They're the ones that are doing the work currently.
Okay, entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
By Burnett?
Burnett.
Second?
Second.
By Johnson, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays
Aye.
motion carried. 3, to approve to award sewers 4-18 to the low responsible bidder, excuse me.
That's it.
Advanced Construction Incorporated in the amount of $1,037,554,50. Director Burnett?
Again, this one, we had 4 bidders. The bids were all competitive. It's within the budget. We recommend that we award to Advance in the amount of $1,037,554.50.
Okay,
Move to approve?
motion to approve by Worry, second by
Second.
Johnson. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Nays motion carried. Number 4, to approve to award Superior Road Storm Water Pond to the low response bidder PTS Contractors in the amount of $784,323.80. Director Burnett?
Again, 3 bidders on this one. The bids were all competitive. We recommend rewarding to PTS in the amount of the $784,323.
Okay, need a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Burnett, second by Johnson. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays motion carried. Granting license. Concrete sidewalk builders.
We can take these all in one.
I was just gonna say, is there any concerns? If not, let's take an approval. I'm guessing staff's recommending approval to Blazer Construction, Paul Cooner Construction, Ramco Construction Services.
Correct.
Motion to approve by Burnett, second by
Second.
Worry. Under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays motion carried. Okay, tree and brush trimmer by WB Tree Service. Any concerns, Jim?
Nope, we're good with them.
Okay, entertain a motion
Move to approve.
by Burnett, second by
Second.
Worry. Under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays motion carried. Let's look at underground sprinklers. Concerns with these two? Director
None.
Burnett? Okay, entertain a motion for is it Lizer?
Lizer, yes.
Lizer
Move to
Lawn
approve.
Care. And Conserva Irrigation,
Right.
okay? Motion to approve by Burnett, second by
Second.
Johnson, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Nays, motion carried. We are at real estate acquisition for Webster Avenue. Number 1, agreement for purchase parcel address. Okay, the first one is A, 820 North Webster Avenue, 93,000.
No, we recommend that one, and B, the 1102 North Webster Ave, that for a rental payment for
I
$70,000.
will entertain a motion to take A and B as an approval by
So moved.
Worry, second by Burnett, under discussion. B is 1102 North Webster Avenue for $70,000. We're under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 2, relocation payments.
Essentially, under item number 2, there's a list of relocation payments that you've seen there. Those apply, I'll just go through them really quick. You got parcel 5A, parcel 8, parcel 9, parcel 14A, 15, 4A, 7A, 14A, 14B, and 15 for the amounts listed that you see there. And we'd recommend approval on these. These are all.
Okay, there is recommendation from staff for an approval of 1003 Smith Street, $2,250.
You just want to take them all the whole, Andy, or?
Yes, but I'm going to read them for the record.
Okay.
1110 North Webster Avenue, 34752, 1002 Burner Street, 5,625, 1001 Day Street, 1,200, 1,000 Smith Street, 2,098.46, 1,000 Smith Street, $21,027, 1108 North Webster Avenue for $1,550, 1001 Day Street, 6,800, 1001 Day Street, 2,300, 916 North Webster Avenue, $55,000, and 916 North Webster Avenue, $1,540. Question, Jim, why is, if it's the same parcel, same address, where's the, why is there?
What you need to look at, Andy, is sometimes, like, for example, the 1001 Day Street.
Right.
You have a Jenny Sill and a Rebecca Eckert. You got two different tenants. And sometimes with the relocation costs, what we do is we end up reimbursing these people as they're making the move, so we don't know some of these costs ahead of time. That's why you may see these people on the list multiple times. For example, closing costs might be one of the first relocation costs that we cover. Now they've closed, now they have the opportunity to move, but we don't know the moving costs until they actually move. So then that might end up being on the list separately.
Gotcha.
So there's multiple times we may see these folks.
Okay, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
By Worry, second by Johnson, under discussion, here none, all in favor? Nays, motion carried. Informational, Director's Report. Director Burnett?
There is no director's report tonight.
Okay, take a motion to receive and place on file. By Worry, second by Burnett, under discussion, here none, all in favor? Okay, there we go. Okay, number 2, it looks like staff is looking at July 11th. I'll confirm with everybody if that's okay, and then we'll move forward on that. So, public hearings,
Don't have any.
okay? Motion adjourned by Burnett,
Second.
second by Johnson, under discussion, here none, all in favor, nays, motion carried. We're adjourned.